Hello, city builders. This is Hubbub. Welcome back to Nuvo Springs on the Azure Gulf map in the Sunset Harbor Dale Seas. It has been a little while since I popped in. It's the end of the school year. Lots and lots of deadlines coming at us fast and furious. And there actually isn't that much that I'm going to do in here today. One issue that I have is, it's not really an issue, but we're pretty much closing in on citizen instances here. And so there actually isn't much more that I could do in this city on this map, or that I'd like to do on this map that I haven't already done. And then, but what I do want to do is optimize mass transit. I have been stress testing this city for a little while. If we take a look at the city statistics, we can see we're pretty level on population. We have about a 2,000 sim swing in this city, which if it were a much smaller city would be problematic, but a city this size, it's not that big of a deal. And then we can also see the treasury is pretty steady as well. So I just want to do a little bit of a show and tell, I guess, with where we're at, and work on mass transit a bit, make sure that we have our numbers optimized. The last major effort I did was this airport over here. I've seen some airport builds now that are just absolutely huge, and I guess I wasn't thinking quite that big. But I wanted this airport to be functional and aesthetic. And most of the more recent airport designs that I was looking at have not involved crossing runways. Most of the more recent modern airports have two parallel runways. Prevailing wind patterns in most cities don't shift much. So what's kind of ironic here is this feels to be like a very long runway on the map. If you do the math, I forget the exact numbers, but if you do the math, this runway at, I think it's 8 meters a cell, is optimal for the smallest possible passenger jet you could get in the real world. And this is about a tile. Can't see the tiles from here. This is about the equivalent of 2/3 of a tile, I think. And if you wanted an airport with a runway that was optimized for the biggest passenger jets out there, this runway would need to be twice as big as it is. I think I've seen some airports where people have actually allocated that much land on their maps to do that, but that's just not my style right now. I wanted something to be efficient. I actually have two airports in the city. We've got this big one over here and a little tiny smaller hobby style airport over here, a la Houston. And together these two, now that's a small number there, but I've seen this up over 100,000 on some weeks. So we have an efficient money-making airport enterprise, that coupled with our money-making parks, which we could see right here, and then combined also with our industries, the city is pretty financially stable. Now I've seen that. Oh wait, that's universities. Here we go. That's a pretty average number for my industries. I think my next build, I'm going to purposely stay away from oil and ore, just for the heck of it. See what I can do without. I mean, oil and ore in game will run out. There's a mod you can get to do unlimited ore and oil, and I'm using that. So you could say I'm kind of cheesing it a little bit here, but my industries are doing really well. Let's see. So I want to look at mass transit. I have been running As you can see from looking at that citizenship map, I've been running this city now off and on without doing any work on it, just letting it stress test for quite a while. I have despawning turned off. Sorry about that. It is allergy season. So I have despawning turned off. Traffic flow is between 86, on a good day it's 87%. And so we do have some red spots, but we have traffic moving fairly well everywhere. This is so I knew this, I was doing this when I built this, but I couldn't really see a way realistically to make this work. This is pretty much a cul-de-sac right here. So there are these times when it's just pretty congested in here, but the flow is always moving. You can see even with this right now, we're at 87% flow. And that'll clear out at some point. The other spot, this, I'm really happy with how this is going. If we click, we're 84 vehicles. This has been up to 100 on occasion. I think it averages around 90. But you can see we have nothing backed up on the main arterial here. So this rail station gets quite a bit. And then let's see. These ramps sometimes get a little bit congested. Somewhere over here I put in my only timed traffic light in the city. And so these have been doing pretty well. Allergies are just going nuts. So we do have these places of red, but as you can see, we have pretty decent flow even when we have high volume. I had to do a little bit of changing up of lanes here. Now, it looks like I may have lost my lane connectors right here. This should be routing traffic. We shouldn't have vehicles trying to cross lanes here. Okay, maybe there's a node here that I'm not managing correctly. Oh, I see what's going on. It's alright. We're not in bad shape here. I had to add a lane on this entrance and mess around with my lane connectors right here to get this to flow better. Let's see, is this... Okay. This is fine. We do get some traffic backing up in here from time to time, but that'll clear. You can see we're still at average 87%. And then this dog bone over here gets a little bit congested from time to time. Also, but again, we can see that our traffic is actually moving. And then the last place that was kind of, I was fussing with a lot, is the rail over here. There was a point when this cargo hub was doing a heck of a lot of traffic, and so I'd have trains backed up quite a bit, and if I didn't pay attention to it, ultimately that would clog the entire map because they would get backed up quite a ways. But since we put in the cargo airport over here, we do have a cargo hub here. This doesn't have quite as much train traffic, but there's a lot of truck traffic coming through here. And so that industrial port on the other side of the map is not getting nearly as much. You can see every once in a while I have some planes backed up here. My design probably could have used a little bit of tweaking because this is a choke point here for planes trying to get onto the runway and planes that have landed trying to get back to the cargo section. But Again, this will clear out pretty quickly too. Okay, so that's traffic flow. Now I want to look at mass transit. And there was a point early on in this city's history when I had close to 10% of the city population on mass transit on any given point. Now it's down to like 5 or 6%. And I'm not disappointed with 9,100 a week or 6,700 a week. We're still at 269,000. When we hit 273, that number will pick up a little bit. But somehow the effectiveness is lost a little bit. I'm not quite sure exactly why. It could be that I've done a lot of work on bike and pedestrian infrastructure. But you could see our trains are really well spaced out. We don't have any long queues. Pulling 1,300 on this monorail line. And then the clockwise line, which is mirroring that first line again. Numbers are good. We don't have any major queues happening. This station gets a lot of traffic, which I'm not going to complain about. I added a traffic light at this crossing point to eliminate conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles. And then now this station is a major transfer point because this road here, there are two stops. There are two stops on this road for trams, which I'm using as light rail, which are traveling from this part of the city all the way over to this part of the city. So this monorail station has become quite a hub. That's why I put this little bypass line in here for trains that might be just wanting to process past that station. And the reason I'm cutting out is because I keep getting my allergies just off the charts right now. Of course, I would have an allergy attack right when I hop online to stream. Yuck. Now, which train is that? So that's this one coming in right now. So these wonderful vehicles have such capacity that I never end up with queues for very long. Let's keep going here. Okay, so now we are on the waterfront line number 1. And we can see right here, we've got some nice volume coming through. Looks like a train's coming in to pick them up right now. Bada bing, bada boom. So this park is a major transfer point. We have trains and trams that are coming, buses and trams that are flowing through the park. We have this monorail station here. There's 714 a week. I put a metro station over here. I don't think it's getting quite as much traffic as it used to. And then we have this stop right here for metro. Oh. See, so let's go back and find. No. All right, so that's number 2. So we were looking at line number 1. Line number 1 on the waterfront is doing just fine. Line number 2. Looks Looks like it's doing all right as well. I'm at the point where I could be systematically eliminating trains if I wanted. We have one vehicle here with no passengers on it. I like to try to trim vehicles whenever I can because that leads to less congestion overall on the line. And if I can pull the same number of passengers... Okay, green line is fine. Purple line is good. Blue line. And obviously the key number for me is right here. Car trips saved, 100%. That was the blue line. Okay, now the oil line is weird. Sometimes it has a lot of passengers, sometimes it doesn't. And so I always have a couple extra vehicles on that line. Orange line's in good shape. Okay, so there's our monorail. Monorail's looking good. Let's take a look at trams. Okay, so trams, our radio tower line is the number one line. I forget if that's the one that I have going clockwise or counterclockwise, but these are basically trams that are moving tourists and sims from this new set of neighborhoods over here all the way over to here. When I put this in, I decided I was not going to try to extend metro or monorail. I was going to let light rail, aka trams, be my major connective tissue. And so we added this little service bridge right next to the highway. There are no passenger vehicles allowed on this bridge. There is a bicycle bridge there too. And so the trams here are connecting from that side of the river over to here. And so this is a high volume line, but we could see actually I want to zoom in real quick. These are great vehicles. I love these vehicles. They look like light rails. So I'm really happy with how this is working. I'll put the creator of this asset into the video descriptions after I'm done streaming. So that's our radio tower line. That's our highest volume light rail line. And then these little cars are running people up and down this hill through the city. There is this little English village that I added up on top of this mountain next to Lord Tripwick's castle and the cathedral here. So this pulls some visitors. That pulls a pretty decent amount of visitors. But then this is a whole residential neighborhood up here. So we have these trams that are working, moving people up and down the waterfront to the hilltop. And I could eliminate some of these cars, but there are some moments when the tourist traffic comes in ebbs and flows. And so because those monorail and metro cars have such high capacity, I'll have these moments where there'll be like a couple hundred people queued at one of these stops. I think it's not, nope, it's not that one. Well, that one actually is a high capacity stop. And then there are some stops right here that are high capacity stops right here. And see, like, there's 50 right there. And so we're going to need a couple cars to pick those people up. And so I'm leaving a pretty decent number of cars on this line. Then we have, like, I could almost back this off to 2 cars. But if it ain't broke, I'm not going to try to fix it. We've got 100% car tricks saved. And we are not getting backed up or congested. So the treasury is stable. I'm going to leave those vehicles on that route, even if it might be inefficient. Main loop. So that was this loop. Radio tower line 2. We could pull this back by 1 car, but we have good separation between these vehicles. They're not getting bunched, so I'm not wrecking the city budget by leaving these cars running. And then, same basic question again. These cars are well spaced. I mean, I could delete one of these, but 100% car trips saved. We have excess slack in the system. So if anything happens that I'm not paying attention to, then the system will work its way through. That's the main loop counter. Now, so maybe this mass transit system has some planned inefficiencies in it. Because you can see we've got 7 vehicles here for 72 residents and 51 tourists. But we have 100% car trips saved, so I will work with that. So now let's look at this one here. Looking good. What I think is interesting that I notice when I put in mirror lines is that there's always one line that is preferred, and the other line doesn't have quite as many. We see this here with the radio tower line, line 1 and line 2. These are mirroring lines. One's going one direction, the other's going the opposite. Same thing with waterfront main loop. Clockwise, counterclockwise, 217 riders, 228 riders. And I'm guessing that has something to do with how the game counts nodes. One of those lines is obviously a more efficient direct route. Okay, so let's look at Metro. What's this? Looks like I have a bus stop that needs attention. Well, this is interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that. So, north side. All right, so this is a route that's running from this transfer point. You see that because I had to add a new track when I built out all of this up here. And so it's not an integrated system, and that this is not integrated into the rest of the network. This was the original line, and then this line here. So people get off here, walk across this bridge, But I want to figure out what these people here are hanging out for. What bus are they waiting on? Because that's obviously something that needs to get addressed. You can see the volume of these trains. These are the Sydney... It's either Rezio or Meshdi, I forget. But he has this beautiful set of Sydney trains. And so this line is obviously doing just fine. I'm stalling because I need this bus to show up. Let's see, can I pull up? Wait, is that it? Let's see what happens here. 3. It's going to fill up. Okay, so let's just look at this real quick. So those people didn't have to wait too long. But, maybe I should add a bus. This bus is coming along here shortly. Let's add a bus to this route. Or 2. There's 127 people now. And there is this bus that's right there on the way. Because that bus is not too far away. So this will sort itself out here. That was an interesting quirk. I love the new Airport DLC buses. Beautiful assets. Okay, so let's go back to our metros. Not get distracted. This line is fine. This line is fine. I could probably get rid of a vehicle here. But, they're not bunched, so again, I'm okay with a little bit of planned excess and inefficiency. And that was... Now let's look at the mirror route. Mirror route is doing fine. 154, 103. What's interesting here is, so these 2 lines are... I put these in because I'm not quite sure what I did that changed everybody's traffic patterns, but this metro station, this monorail station at one point was pulling 2,000-3,000 people a week. And it was just backed up. It could not keep up with the volume. And so I added this line here. This station, there's a line that connects from here, comes over to here, and then it's basically a connecting point over to this football stadium. That's why it's water to football clocker, waterfront to the football, clockwise, counterclockwise. And then, so there was a point when they were taking the hundreds and hundreds of sims. And then I did something after that that shifted some of the traffic, the foot traffic again. But still, that's a pretty decent... I'm okay with these passengers being spread out over several different lines. A little bit of redundancy here. This one's good. Battery clockwise. So let's just check the rest of these. Then we're going to... Ooh, look at this. What's this? Where's this at? Okay, so that's the metro station at the airport. We are at 100%. 100% car trip saved. I could add another vehicle on this line, but you can see they're all low as it is. This is not going to exceed 600. So these people are going to get picked up the next train comes around. Oh, now look at all these people piling into the subway right now. Let's see what happens here. How many people we're going to add to this queue? Okay, up to 380. We're going to close in on 400. This is making me wonder what's going on here. wonder if we have some bunching over here with another line. Where is this stop? Well, let's see. No, he's moving. Okay, it's on the way. Wow, maybe it should add another train on this line. No, this one's close enough behind this one. I don't think this is going to be topped out. It's such a beautiful train. So this is the football station right there. Maybe I should add another train here. But we are at a lull in passengers, so maybe it's not a big deal. Oh, look at that. Look at all those people coming over here now. Oh, he's on the way now. Nope, that train is on the way. We're going to be just fine. It's going to swing around. Come on in, pick up these folks here. All right, here we go. 485, 600. I mean, there's this other one swinging right behind it, so I'm not worried about the volume. Wow, a couple of those folks are going to be left standing. Here it comes. Pulling into the station now. The only thing that's kind of a downer about these trains is that when they're underground, you can't watch how beautiful they are. There we go. All right, let's keep this going. Wait, which one was this? Peninsula Counter Air Mall Football. Peninsula Counter Air Mall Football. Okay, Downtown Air. All right, we're good here. Southside Mall. Look at that. 3 trains with a capacity of 600 for 103 passengers. Is that right? 80. Yeah. Now that's a redundancy. But okay. Clocker football. Oh, that's interesting. Where are those folks queued at? Oh, so they've finished their shopping and they're getting ready to go home. Peninsula. I think my buses need some optimizing. I don't know that I want to make people sit and watch me go through 60 different lines of buses, though. Go Park. Clocker. Okay, so a little bit of overview here. No trains. What's that all about? The model I wanted to try to eventually get to was early on in a build, you have to use trains for long range trips or medium range trips on the long range trips on the map because you don't have monorail yet until you hit, is it Megalopolis? No, where is it? Milestones. Till you hit Megalopolis, you don't have monorail, I don't think. I think it's monorail. I think you get monorail at Megalopolis. Or maybe it's Metropolis? Now, in any event, I built in all these trains, and then I built in the monorail. And they're really redundant, they're overlapping. And what I wanted to do was, and this might be a little bit of efficiency, but we have this beautiful station from the most recent DLC that I'm using for intercity trains. So we have no passenger trains on the lines other than those that are coming from off map. And that's pulling almost 1,000 people in this recent week. And so you may say, well, this is really inefficient having all these people sitting here waiting. And if I had more trains, train stations, I could have a more efficient system. But with the airport DLC kicking in, the optimized outside connections mod is not working as well as it could. And so I actually was having huge gridlock on train networks, partly because of I haven't separated cargo from passenger use. And so partly because the original scheme that I wanted to work with was I want my monorail to be my long range routes on map. I want train passenger rail to be what brings people into the map from off the map. And then metro and tram are medium range journeys and buses are local journeys. So I'm inspired from a trip to Japan when I was stationed in Okinawa 30 plus years ago. From anywhere in Japan, you can hop on a bus, ride to a train station, then take a train anywhere in the islands of Japan. And so that was kind of the game plan here, is from anywhere on this map, if you're living in my city, you can get out your door, walk to a bus stop, take a bus. That bus will, why is it not showing me? Oh, there we go. That bus will take you to a transfer point where you can get on a metro or a monorail or a train and take a longer journey to get across the map or off the map. That's the general game plan with this system. Short range journeys being taken care of by buses, medium range journeys by metro and tram, and then long range journeys by monorail. So that's what I went to. I got rid of all of my train stations. The other advantage here is if we look at the prices, these regular train stations cost $1,200 a week. If we look at the monorail stations, these monorail stations only cost, let's see if I can turn this off. These monorail stations only cost about $400 a week. So it's a much more cost-effective system. I can have monorail stations placed pretty frequently throughout the map. So there's some overlap because to some extent the monorail stations are doing medium and short range journeys also. But basically I have these big outer loops that are mirroring each other, and then I have some interior loops that overlap with each other, and so that's part of how people can get around. Now let's see, let's go back to, so part of what happens with my transit passenger numbers is when I see a week like that on this train station, my numbers seem to dip. And then when we see, several thousand people here, then those numbers pick up. Right now, I want to check buses real quick. I'm not going to go through every single bus. I'm making ample use of the new buses given to us. The double-deckers and the articulated buses for some of these lines. And again, the number I'm looking at is car trips saved. I frankly don't care if I have not the most efficient allocation of vehicles. As long as I have 100% car trips saved, that's the magic number for me. Oh, I hope the viewers didn't hear that sniffle. $75. So I am not going to plug through every single one of these. This is cool. See, so with the addition of the DLC buses, there's a nice articulated bus that's got a decent capacity that's pulling the bigger number routes, and then I'm using the double-decker buses in some spots. That was line 33, I think. Okay, 53. $369. So I'm not going to go much further with this. See, this one is obviously not a well-planned route because I had to crank up the number of buses to get the number of car trips saved up here. Practically a bus per stop on this line. And I will acknowledge that that is really probably not good planning. However, what's ever going on with that line, I think, see, I know where that line is. Yes, so I have this really dense residential on this almost island here in the middle of the map. And so there's not much accessibility actually. Here there's a lot of pedestrian and bikeway accessibility because you can see all the paths that I have laid in. But in terms of transit, literally it's like this giant cul-de-sac. They have access here to the highway, they have access here. So I got a feeder road system right here. But then in terms of mass transit, this whole development here is served by this monorail station here. And so that bus, I think it was bus number 33. No. What bus was that? 53? No. I lost track of the bus. 31? Yeah. So it's just a really, really, really long route with lots of stops on it in order to get the car trips saved up. Again, maybe I'm making excuses here, but there are certain things I'm doing in my city budget that are designed to make it possible to have free mass transit. I'm making loads and loads of money with industry. Higher education is not free. I have taxes on residents and industry cranked up to 12%. I do my commercial down to 1%. No, actually I have a negative rate on my commercial. How do you make a negative rate on commercial? Here's how. I forget which video I saw this on, but if I go to taxation and I drop all those tax rates down to 1, and then I add tax relief, so technically my tax rate on commercial is at negative 1%. And that's why when you look at this, if you look at income, I have 0% income from my commercial zones, and that's also why I'm not actually making that much income from. Oh, that's interesting. Public transportation. So I'm getting a lot from my part. Okay, now I missed the boat on this one. Why is that? Is that people coming in on planes? I bet you we had a good week at the airport. Hang on a minute. Let's look at this. Okay, that might be what's going on there. I hadn't spotted that before. So we've got lots of money coming in from public transport. But I'm not charging people for mass transit. This is a complete and total write-off. Income. Yeah, so the income from the planes gets recorded in so I do have that cranked up because if you look at my airport, what's going on with the airport is the attractiveness score is so far off the chart that I could crank up my ticket prices really high. And we still have people coming in. So, all right. So where were we? Oh, right. So honestly, I don't care. I am not unhappy if I'm paying for. Where's 50? 53? No. 46? Nope. 69? Nope. 45? Nope. What'd I do here? Well, in any event, that bus line on that little island right here. Okay, which bus was this? 31. So I've got all these buses. 90% car trips saved. Because this is such a long line here serving this really dense neighborhood. But that's part of the overall plan for the city, honestly. I'm really liking this tower here. For some reason, the gherkin disappeared, so the sky tower was kind of an accidental, new, cool thing added to the city. It just really stands out in this neighborhood. It's really freaking cool. And if you think about it, look at the views. Look at those views.